with us on our technological talks. Thank you. Thank you, Megan, for it's a pleasure for me to be on this space again with which has a lot of impact. And I hope to be able to share something of value that you can use day to day. I work for Premier American Foundation, is a credit union, and our it is our goal is to improve your financial health. I would like I would like to start with the first slide where I think there's one missing, the previous one, the previous slide. It, this perfect. This one. Yes, perfect. We're gonna talk about. There are some of the points that are going to be talked about that we're going to talk about today is how we can make better decisions. What are the different institutions that exist, the financial institutions that exist, what precautions we should take. Invite you that you join the credit unions, talk about the finance concepts, the different shapes that the money has and how money moves and how we use it. Please, if you have any questions, I would appreciate it if you place it on the session for questions and answers so that we can answer them. And then I would like that we would like to get into the activities. Usually this presentation is in person and in open forums, but I would like for you to share in the chat. Why was this presentation important to you? If you could share, what caught your attention? What would you like to learn? What would you like to see so that we can take it into consideration during the development of the presentation? So if you could please put it on the chat. So we're gonna see the answers. So the next slide, please. What are finances? What is this word? What is this finance word mean? It's a word that we hear about a lot in the news, daily on our daily lives, and we're gonna see a little bit what can we find about this word. And here I remember when I was young at school, like your children are right now. I remember that when we had a homework and we had some type of doubt regarding a word, we would ask the teacher, and the teacher would say, "Go look for it at the dictionary, on the dictionary." So then we would go. I remember that at home we would have like an encyclopedia with a whole bunch of books like the ones that are shown here, and then we would find the word. We looked for the letter that was the first letter of the word, and until we found the word that we were looking for, and then we found the definition. So here I'm showing you the definition that the Real Academia Española has regarding the word, and it says that finances is the obligation that someone assumes is an action of save someone. So the same way is the definition in English here with the Oxford Dictionary, and is you can more or less see that it looks pretty much the same as what the both language dictionaries say. So our kids don't have to go look letter by letter to find a word. Now, now we Google, right? Because this became a verb. We Google became a verb. So if we go to the search, and it gives us a very fast definition. Here are the two definitions that I found, one in Spanish, one in English. One says, well, finance is the manager of large amounts of money, especially by governments or large companies, and having to do with money. So this is the word, this is the title of this workshop, is finances. So we already saw this word more or less, but really sincerely, it is still confusing. And that confusion, that day by day, that we think that the topic of finances has to do with the stock market, with the big banks, and that we feel that it has nothing to do with us. So I want you to best forget about this word. Let's just talk about money, because money is more familiar to us. That word of money is more familiar to us. So we're going to talk about money. The money, before we see its forms, we all have a relationship with money. It doesn't not matter what our social status is. It doesn't matter what our immigration status is. It doesn't matter what religions we practice. Where do we find ourselves? We all have to, throughout the world, we always have to deal with this topic of money. Maybe we don't know how to speak English, maybe we don't know how to speak Spanish, but with the money, we can understand, we can sell our products, and we can ask, even if we don't speak the language, we can sell our products, and we can ask, sometimes we can go to stores, even speaking our own language, and we point to a product that we want. We hand out a bill, and that product we get in exchange for money. So there's no one that is safe from this money game. Something funny about the money is that it's like a coin. It has two faces. One, that we always related to happy things, when we get our paychecks, when we think that we're gonna win the lottery, when we buy lottery tickets, when we find a bill somewhere on the street. That's the happy time of money. But it has another side, that is, it generates anguish, worry, anger. For example, if our wallet is stolen or we lose it, that gets us angry. If somebody charges us and we don't have enough money to pay whoever is charging us, that's also very anguishing. At the end of the month, maybe we cannot, our money starts running out. So these two feelings that money brings to us is very important to have in mind, especially how to manage the money topic. The previous one, please. So now we're gonna get into the more technical part. We mentioned a little bit about what the emotional part of money is. Here we see some bills and some coins, which are the ones that we use generally, that we start using as money forms. these are not the most ancient ones, but they're the more familiar ones that we have. Before this, what used to be done is that you would exchange it for precious metals. And before the precious metals, it was exchanging objects. Like in South America, the cacao was utilized as coins, uh, feathers, or feathers, very exotic feathers, like the birds, the quetzales, from the people from Guatemala. They have this majestic bird. So beforehand, these forms where we were able to use them as merchandise. And before all that, what was done is exchange. If I would do cropping and another person would have livestock, what I would do is I would exchange a whole bunch of seeds in exchange for. I think I have some questions here. I'm gonna review the question. This I wonder if you can help me ID in the questions. Yes. I don't know if there was a confusion with today's topic, but we're going to answer that. Thank you. So then, before there were exchanges, we would go to the agriculture with the iron person, but all that was very inconvenient. Not all the time the person needed the product that another person needed. So then how could we say how many pounds of wheat or corn was equivalent to a cow? So this is how this exchange started changing, and then we ended up having the bills and the monies. But I want to tell you about something very odd. The coins are getting, they're getting less and less popular. Like some establishments have something where you can leave your coins if you don't want to deal with the coins. And the government of Canada has just announced that they're gonna take coins out of circulation. So there's these transformations about how this exchange, like the cacao, the feathers, and now the coins are changing. We are gonna stop using them. So here, there's another way of money that I'm showing you is a check. I am from Mexico, and it wasn't so common to utilize checks. When I got here to the United States, I noticed that the checks were used more often to pay for payroll, for rent, and there were some stores would accept checks. In Mexico, stores did not accept checks. So this check is like a piece of paper that represents all of the coins or bills that we want to use. Why did we start using a check? What advantage does the check have? If we're gonna buy a car, a house, well, to bring cash money, it gets very complicated and it's very risky. So imagine to go to a dealership with a whole bunch of money to buy a car, cash, or to buy a house cash. So this makes things complicated. So a check, we we write down the name of the person or the company, and then the amount, and then we sign. So what other advantages does it have? Here we use the checks a lot to be able to pay the rent. Why? Because usually the landlord, what he or she asks is that we would send the check every month for the rent. Well, we cannot send cash because it's not legal. And then you would have a risk that that money would get lost, or many times it wouldn't fit in an envelope, all that amount of bills. So that's why we use a check. Another reason to use a check is when we get paid. When we get paid, paycheck day. What advantages does it have? The same, that there's not a problem with the amount of money that we're receiving. If it's lost, if the check is lost, no one can cash it. But if we would be paid in cash, and then we can get maybe robbed, and there's no way to recover it. If it's a check, no one can cash it. We call the bank and they void that check, and then they give us another check. That's a great advantage for the people who pay our rents, or the bosses who pay the payroll. That remains registered. There's proof. Uh, we can see that the dinner was cashed. I don't know if there's any doubt right now, or I don't know if there's any question that you might have at this moment. You please let me know so that we can solve it. Now we go to a way of money that is more up to date, that it looks similar, but there's a big difference. Is the cards, those plastics that we carry, that they become more and more common, and we get tons and tons of mailings offering credit cards, 0% interest, and we get a whole bunch of this, that our credit has been authorized. This is very important to differentiate two cards. The first one is the debit card. The debit card is money that is ours. In other words, we get our paycheck on our checking account, and we can use that amount with the debit card. We can go to the supermarket, and they tell us is such an amount, $100. We put our card. If we have 100 or plus money, and our money goes, and that gets deducted from our account. It's our money. Now, what happens? Now, with the credit card, the great difference is that this is money that is loaned to us. It's not our own money. What does that mean? The bank gives us an X amount that is available on our credit card. Every time we use the credit card, those amounts are going to be a debt. So each debt has a cost. So every dollar that we use, the bank is going to get interest. So then we have to pay that money plus the use of that money, which is called interest. Now, there's a very good trick that we have to manage with a lot of caution. If we pay all that we use on the credit card at the end of the month, when the payment date is due, let's say we have a credit of $1,000 and we used $500, and we go to the bank and we pay those $500, for those 30 days, we did not have to pay any type of interest. The interest start running after the 30 days. So then what is the risk? Well, yeah, I'm gonna pay it, and then we realize we don't have enough, and instead of paying 500, we pay 250. So then what's gonna happen? We're gonna get charged interest on those $250 that remained. And then if we continue to run it to the next month, they're not only gonna charge us interest for the $250, but for the amount of interest that we didn't pay. So usually when the credit cards have, usually the credit cards have a minimum. The recommended thing is to pay over the minimum, because if you don't pay more than the minimum, what you're gonna be doing is you're going to be postponing the debt, and sometimes you end up paying much more than what the loan was, and that's when it's a dangerous situation. I know the advantage that these cards have is that right now they allow us to buy things on internet, on Amazon, to pay the phone bill over the phone or online, and shop, or also to contract a car insurance. It's not necessary to wait. Oh, I'm gonna have to go to the bank to deposit the money, then I have to send the check. So we just note down the information on the credit card. This also helps us to have a registry of the money that we have spent. If the card is lost, they void that one and they send us a new one. So it's a very good, safe way to. The great risk is that we buy more that we have available. So then there's another area that we don't need to necessarily go to the bank now anymore to do transactions, to move our monies, or to wait until the end of the month to see our statement, or if certain charges have already gone through, or anything, or if we want to transfer from one account to the other or make a payment. This exists right now, that is online banking. A lot of the services that are at the local banks, we have it through the internet, online. And if we do this from our house computer, it's not recommended to use online banking on public computers. Why? Because you run the risk of that our login and our passwords get registered on that computer, and then someone can use our money. They can withdraw funds. So it's a very convenient way, because you can use it 24 hours a day. You don't have to wait until Monday until the bank opens. The majority of transactions are very fast. So it's not the issue that, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it to the bank because I left work late. So this is a very convenient way. But like at all of the things that we have been seeing, it has their conveniences, but it also has the safety risk. This is the most used right now, the mobile banking, thanks to these devices that are called smartphones, and the most majority has access to a smartphone, especially here in the United States. It's a very convenient way and very safe, even though, and and this is where these workshops are valuable. We're not kids anymore. We are adults. It's hard. It's harder for us to trust technology because we are less familiar with it. We think that we're going to be at risk. So it's important that we get trained on using technology. Before, the mobile banking and bank online was less common, but after the pandemic, when the banks closed, it became more more popular, and more the banks are opening less local banking branches, and so. But my reflection about this is that you trust this. They really offer a lot of safety. We just have to have certain precautions. Like for example, the mobile banking, differentiating from the online banking, the telephone has a lot of security, like the password. So to be able to get into the phone, you have to have the password for the phone. When we open up the app, the financial institution is going to ask us our login ID and a password. And it's been getting more sophisticated, where now they can even see your face, and it's open faster and in a safest way. Sometimes it's gonna be, let's say if our phone was stolen, it's gonna be hard because of the cost of the phone. But the person who has stolen the phone, it's hardly impossible for them to have access to the bank information. The difference on a credit card is that if we lost it and by the time that we report it, it might be used. It has happened to me many times. There are cards that I don't use, and then I realize that they were lost, and then you run a risk. It, with the mobile banking, I urge you to try it. It's very easy. It's almost as easy as Facebook. Probably a lot of you are familiarized with Facebook. About 90 people are connected, and we know that at the beginning of the pandemic, when these workshops were done, it was hard. Like we didn't know how to get into the Zoom. What was it? Was I on mute? Do I know the link? It's hard, but once we know how to do it, it is a lot of things get easier for us. Now we don't have to take transportation to go to the central district to go to the workshops and then come back. Right now we can open the computer or the telephone, we can use the link, and we can have these workshops, and vice versa. When it is done, or you just wish to leave the workshop, you're at your home. You're at your home. So these are the advantages that technology is giving us if we lose our fear for it, and mainly if we get trained to see what precautions we need to take. So we saw the ways of money. Now I want to talk a bit about how we use this money. There are two basic ways to use the money. One, when we deduct the money, and the other one is when we add the money. That's when we say red numbers and green numbers. Within these forms of red numbers or minuses, what happens when we pay something? Is a way to use money when we have it is we pay rent. we have $1,000 in our account and the rent is $500. So now we deduct $500 and now our balance is $500. It's like the song. It's like the song. It's less and less. Or when we go buy something, I go to the market, I go to Ross, I go to Target, and I buy clothing for school, I buy products, I buy shampoo or for washing. I either buy or rent something. So then that is a deduction as well. So of the $500 that we had remaining from the rent, we paid 100 at the market, and then there's this thing about the to borrow the loan. If the $100 that we paid, we didn't do it with our debit card, but we did it with our credit card, what is going to happen? Well, if we don't pay those $100 at the end of the month, we're gonna get charged, let's say 10% of interest. So our debt is gonna be $110. This part is very important. Usually when we purchase something on payments or by credit, when we pay, I think someone is saying that they cannot see the presentation. Then I don't know. I don't know if everyone is having the same issue that they're not able to see the presentation. Megan, is the presentation being shown? Yes, of course, yes. Maybe the person has to go out and come back in. I said, oh, I'm by myself here. No, you're not alone. This is like the attorneys. This about the loans is about the attorneys. Usually we pay attention about how much are we gonna get a loan for? How much is the car? How much is the television? But we hardly notice this very small writing. They're small numbers because a TV could cost $500, but the interest says 10%. Oh, this number is like the contract, like the rent when we buy a car and insurance. All the benefits come in big letters. But then we turn the document and there's a very small letters, and that's all the conditions that you can do it. So when we're told on the contracts, read the small print. The same thing happens with the loans. You have to really look at the small print about the interest, because that number, what that number is going to do is it's going to make the debt higher. And this number that could look so small, like for example a 10, I'm sorry, over $100, in if that is a monthly interest in 10 months, that 10 that look, we will be paying in interest the same amount that was loaned to us. So it's very important. So some stores say small payments. No, the problem is not the small payments. The problem is when do we finish paying it? They might be small payments, but those small payments are gonna be worth more than what we purchased. So these are like the three negatives when we get a loan. Now, the positive way, when we gain money, this is when we get our paycheck, when we win the lotto, when we get money present. The common way to gain money is when we work. So now we have $400 on our account. we got again paid, and so now we have more money. If that money that that we that we made, if we place it on a savings account, what is it? What is it that's gonna happen? It's gonna be safe. We're gonna be able to have it for any emergency. If we need money, we're not gonna need to get a loan, and it could be making an amount of money. This is where the interest is to our favor, as long as we know that the institution where we have the savings, they're gonna give us a good interest. So, and then invest. Well, when we can have a business, maybe we can have an investment account, like here in the United States where you have IRA or 401k. This money continues to grow, so it is important. And this is the opposite. The small numbers are to our advantage. Now, with the present financial situation, what is the best advice that we can get? And in these times, it's not a good time to get a loan because the interest rates are very high. So the less we can borrow, the better. The fastest that we can pay it, the better. On the other hand, if we have money, the money that we have saved, if we can invest it, what's going to happen? We're going to make a lot of money because the interest rates right now are very high. So we would try to get investors that instead of investing on the market, they invest on the government. I bring another example of how we can save, how small decisions can make big differences. I'm giving you an example about the coffee that we drink every day. And I give you three examples. A Starbucks, the Starbucks is about $5. At 7-Eleven is about $2. If we make our own coffee at home, it's gonna be about 25 cents. When you say, oh well, this isn't gonna make me richer or poorer, but let's suppose that that you like coffee a lot. So every month I buy Starbucks. So now that's $150 that it costs me for all the Starbucks that I drank. If I go to 7-Eleven, I spend $60 on coffee. But if I prepare it at home, I only spend $7.50. So here at the bottom are the green numbers that we saved. If I do it at home, I am saving 97. I'm saving $97.5. So that's almost $100. That's in a month. And you say, okay, if you find a $100 bill, imagine if you were so lucky that every month you and then you know what, by preparing your own coffee, if you prepare your own coffee instead of going to buy every month, you're gonna look at it that way. Every month you're gonna find a $100 bill. Who wouldn't do it? So imagine that you do this for a whole year. Then here in Starbucks, you would be in Starbucks you would be spending $1,800, in 7-Eleven $720, and at home $90. So imagine if you say that if you prepare your coffee every day, every year, I'm gonna give you over $1,000. Well, this is like an IRS reimbursement. How many things can we do with all that money throughout the year? We can save it. So this is a very small example. It's something of very low cost, such as the coffee. But if we do this with coffee, if you do it with your lunch, if you see if it's better for you to drive your car or go on public transportation, that is all giving you gainings. So that's why it's important how money works so that you can make these decisions. Not with this mindset of saying, oh, with $3 that I spend, nothing is going to happen. What happens is that throughout the time, little by little, you start filling up the piggy bank. So what I do at my house is that I instead of taking those $3 and spending them at wherever, I put them in my piggy bank. And then here I also wish to talk to you about the different financial institutions. The most traditional is the banks. The thing that you should have clear is that the important thing is that you ask for your loans and you have your monies in a financial institution. What is a financial institution? They are organizations and they're regulated by the government. What this means is that they cannot exceed their interest rates. They have to guarantee the monies of the people who are saving. If there is some type of issue with the consumer, there is a bureau that you can go to. There are other places that are other institutions that are not regulated. We're going to see how to identify them more. They can charge whatever interest they want, and they design it in a way. These are like pawn shops or these shark loaners that they charge a lot of money. And these are the financial institutions. The banks receive money that are here. They're the investors. They lend it to the consumers. The consumers return the money. If the investors invested 100, the banks give them back 100, and then what do the banks do? They return the $100 to the investors, and then the $50 that they gain, they distribute or they keep for the bank. There are other institutions that are also regulated, the credit unions. What is the difference between a credit union and a bank? It's also in case the financial institution goes bankrupt, the people who have a savings account, their monies are safe. They're guaranteed. The government guarantees up until a certain amount. So your money is safe. The credit unions don't have investors. They have members. And who are the members? Is those people who open an account with the credit union and their clients. And what happens with those $50 that we mentioned, instead of them being shared with the investors and the institutions, that money goes back to the people who have a savings account, either giving them more for their savings account or charging less for their loans. Always the interest rates at credit unions are going to be lower, and the ones that we're going to get from the credit union are going to be higher. So this is where and they don't spend a whole lot of money on publicity. So all those savings go towards their clients. What other advantage do they have? After better benefits, after the members got the most benefits, the credit unions are nonprofit. This this goes to finance food banks in the community and other nonprofit organizations and causes that improve our communities. This is one of the biggest warnings that I want to give you. Watch out with this advertisement. These are people who are not regulated, and the loans are abusive. They 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 are very high interest loans, and when we get them, it's very difficult to be able to get out of them or to pay them off. So watch out, watch out. So this is some of the tips that I can give you. Track your expenses, monitor your bank, reduce your you find out ways to cut your spending, pack your lunch, and brew your coffee every day. Sometimes when you want to buy something, say, I'm gonna wait right now. I'm gonna think I'm gonna think if I really need this or not. Uh, the the bank the bank maximize your savings account. The bank sometimes have the bank has, now that we have the refund from the taxes, and watch out for this November times when Black Friday is so popular. Just hold your horses. This this is where prices are inflated, things are higher. So here I just want to present to you that there are products. You see a seal that says Bancon. That's a certificate that is a fund established by the government. And this has a lot of advantages for the consumers, especially for people with low income or people who don't have a checking account. So on PremierAmerica, we have something called smart spending, and we have the highest standard of this certification. There's no service charge, there's no minimum balance. You can make transactions through Zelle from one account to the other. A lot of credit unions don't have it, and I think Citibank had already taken it out. There's no overdraft fees. There's no deposit fees, and we have a lot of ATMs. I can give you a tip. The majority of the credit unions can you in most of the credit unions, you can use the ATMs at the 7-Elevens without any charge. So maybe, well, it's just that my credit union is too far. There's hardly any branches, but you can use your ATM card at the 7-Eleven without charge to you, as opposed to if you do it with Bank of America, they will charge